Hello everybody, welcome back to another Weather Central forecast. Be having a fantastic day. In today's forecast, we'll be discussing our severe weather threat that lies in for the next couple of days. And also, I will not be going it over in this video, but as we go into my outlook for this system, I will show you a little update on Invest 92L. And we're also going to have some very warm conditions off to the west, so that's going to be something that we're going to talk about, as well as it could be some very impactful heat down to the southwest. Now, before we start off with this forecast, I would like to start off with a disclaimer that these forecasts are my opinion. They're based off of model guidance and past occurrences of weather. For the most accurate and up-to-date weather, please consult your local National Weather Service office, as they will have more accurate and up-to-date information than I will on these major United States weather events. Let's go ahead and go over to my outlook for this system. So here is my outlook. Here you can see off to the west, I'm depicting a lot warmer conditions. Now, especially within this orange here is where we could see some very deadly heat that could possibly, like I said, it could become deadly if you guys are not taking your proper precautions, staying hydrated, staying out of the sun. Definitely could be very deadly, like I said, as well as for Invest 92L. I believe it has a 90% chance of forming within the next 5 days. And I do believe if they did upgrade it to a 40 or 50 within the next 48 hours, and it is expected to make some sort of U.S. landfall impact. So if that does become a lot more predominant over the next couple of days, that could be what tomorrow's forecast is on. But today our main forecast is going to be for the severe weather. Now what we see is areas in the red include Green Bay, areas like Kansas City, St. Louis, Charleston, State College, and Buffalo, even Syracuse. This is where I think you guys could see possible severe storms. However, I believe that you guys are going to stay mostly on the clear side of things in terms of severe weather, maybe just your typical summer thunderstorms. But like I said, I would not be surprised if a couple of them within this region become severe warned. But tornadic probability remains very low for this area, in my opinion. Now, going into our darker red, which is areas like Chicago, Grand Rapids, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Des Moines, areas like that. This is where I think you guys could see most of your storms, but your biggest threat will be wind and hail, and tornado potential remains rather low. However, there still is the tornado potential within this region, but then right now my area for concern is mostly over here, and then areas over here. However, you could see some very bad severe weather too in between this region here, in the corridor between Illinois and Ohio there. You guys could see some severe weather. I just feel like for the purple region, it's going to be more concentrated over on each side here. And that's for areas like Columbus, Ohio, areas like Cleveland, Ohio, Davenport, Iowa, Bloomington, Davenport, Illinois, or Iowa. I can't really tell which state that's in. Like I said this last video, my geography is not the best. Bloomington, Illinois, regions like that are the regions that I'm going to want you guys to say the most weather aware. Obviously, anyone within this severe weather region that I have here, please stay weather aware over the next couple of days. Monitor your latest forecast, whether that be my forecast or other forecasters' forecasts, as this is something that you guys are going to want to keep your eye out on. So let's go ahead and go over to our day one maximum temperature. Now, this is for today. Let's see what today's date is, June 16th. I'm just going to write that up here just in case you guys are wondering. So this is what we're seeing today. Now, we see very, very warm conditions down to the southwest. We're seeing upwards of 118 degrees could become your maximum temperature today. Now, this is the maximum, so more than likely it's not going to get this hot, but there is the possibility. It's going to be rather mild off to the northeast, even into parts of the mid-Atlantic, only getting up to the low 80s here, upper 70s throughout this region over here. Same region around the Great Lakes, you guys are going to see 70s. It's not going to be too warm for a summer day. However, within this region right here, it's going to be super hot, where we're seeing 90s, even hundreds into portions of Kansas, even down into Oklahoma and Texas. You could be seeing those 100-degree temperatures. And off to the west coast, like I said, very, very hot conditions that will become predominant over the next couple of days. Now, this is for June 17th here. Now, what we're seeing is still rather mild conditions off to the northeast into the mid-Atlantic, where you're only seeing upper 70s, lower 70s, and low 80s. Still very, very hot conditions into portions of the South Central, the Midwest, and the Northern plains here. And we're still seeing off to the portions of the West here. We're seeing a good region of hundreds. We're seeing 120 degrees possible south of Las Vegas there, and even 114 possibly around Las Vegas. Now, obviously, I don't know if it's going to get exactly that hot. Obviously, the higher elevations are going to stay a lot cooler than this. However, the lower elevations definitely would expect this sort of temperatures possible, especially if you see that direct sunlight all day. Now, going into our June 18th maximum temperatures here, my handwriting's pretty bad here, guys. So June 18th here, what we're seeing is a little bit of a warm-up off the portions of the Northeast. Now, you guys were seeing some cooler conditions. Now it's starting to warm up a little bit. We're getting a lot of warm air pushing up through the Gulf. We're getting a lot of moisture as well evecting from the Gulf. That's going to allow for this low to get a better chance of developing over the next couple of days. And you can see right along this area here, we're seeing 90. So that's really going to support this tropical system to really spark off and really grow up, really have a chance to develop a lot more due to those very warm temperatures. We're seeing into portions of Kansas, hundreds widespread over a couple hundred miles. Even the KC metro area seeing 100 degrees as your high temperature for June 18th. So this is not something to take lightly. Obviously, take you guys' proper precautions for this. That is drinking enough water, staying indoors, trying to stay away from the heat. If you guys have to, wear a hat, something like that to protect yourself from those sun rays so you guys don't get sunburnt and whatnot. Now, we're going to go ahead and go over to our categorical outlook for day one. All we have is a marginal, and that is for portions of the Midwest. Translating this over to tornado, there's less than 2% in all areas. Our hail is going to lie in our marginal risk here for portions of the Midwest. There's really not much to talk about. Wind expands just a little bit down into portions of northern Missouri. That is a marginal. That is a wind-driven marginal for portions of Missouri there. Going into tomorrow, this is where we're going to have to start paying attention. We do have a slight risk issued by the SPC and a marginal surrounding that. Now, moving this over to our tornado probability, you can see we do have a 2%, which is still rather low, but however, I have seen many tornadoes happen within a 2% this year, so you really can't take that too seriously. Now, these are going to be lower end tornadoes, because the SPC does also do their percentages off of how strong the tornado will be as well. So these are going to be rather weaker tornadoes, but there still is the slight chance that you guys do see some tornadic activity tomorrow. Like I said, hopefully I'll be able to make a forecast on this tomorrow. I do have another basketball tournament tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to make a forecast, but I'll keep you guys up to date on that. Going into our hail outlook here, you can see we do have a 15% for that 2% tornado risk area, and then that marginal risk is seeing a 5% there. Going into our wind, you can see it expands just slightly into portions just west of the Chicago metro area. You can see the Chicago metro area is still under a 5% wind, so that's something that we're going to want to monitor over the next couple of days. Now tomorrow, Friday, what we see here is a marginal 4 portions off of the coast of Louisiana there. Now that could be enhanced from our low pressure here, our Invest 92L. And I have seen some of the models such as the Euro showing possibly a severe weather event for the southeast when 92L makes landfall. So we're going to have to really monitor that as well. We can see we do have a slight, though, into portions of the Ohio Valley. Right now, we don't really know the tornadic potential. However, I do know it is still relatively low. Going into our probability outlook, since we don't have a 4-panel since it is 3 days out. But what we do see for our probable is just a 15. It is not significant risk yet. So that is a good sign in terms of staying away from that severe weather. Now, we're going to have to monitor this as well, as that is in a lot more favorable environment as this would be, because obviously it's always warm down to the south. They always have the needed ingredients for these severe weather events. So we're just going to have to monitor that as well. Now, what we're going over to here is our precipitation. Now, we're just going to be taking a look at this first event for areas around here. We're not really going to be going too in-depth on all 3 days. So like I said, this is just for June 17th tomorrow. It's going to be more of a night threat So this is, you can see our time is going to be stamped over here in the corner. So we can see this is at around 8 p.m. on June 17th. We can see we do have some scattered storms here with our initial lift that will occur, and then our cape will just spark off and grow upscale here. You can see this is just by one frame over at 10 o'clock on June 17th. You can see we do have a good cluster of cells here. Possibly some of these that are in this favorable environment for tornadoes could become supercellular. We could see a lot more discrete cells, not really a cluster, so that's also going to support tornadic development. Now you can see at around 12 a.m. on June 18th, what we're seeing here is a lot more of a linear mode of storms. However, that's really only in that tornadic area that we did have that risk. You can still see a lot more discrete cells off to the northern end, and you can see off to the leading edge of that front there, that's pushing down. Ahead of that more linear motion of storms, we have some very high precipitation thunderstorms headed for the Chicago metro area. You can see by 2 a.m. on June 18th, we're seeing a very heavy thunderstorm that's in portions of the metro area. Then, and just off to portions of Davenport, north of Davenport, what we're seeing here is some very, very high precipitation cells here. You can see it is approaching 60 dBz, maybe even 65, because it is maxed out here, which is very, very high precipitation, if you guys don't know. And we can start to see our storm starting to bow out a little bit. That's going to impose a straight line damaging wind threat as well. And we can still see a lot of strong cells, even up into the Great Lakes area at this point, making its way into Michigan. And what we're seeing here is still some very strong cells that are becoming predominant into portions of Illinois. That's going to become very significant. And then at our last frame here, I believe, what we're seeing here is some very strong thunderstorms that is into portions of Michigan. Now, we're going to have to monitor that potential over the next couple of days, because if we can get a lot more favorable environment to set up, and these cells can become a lot more discrete, which are not really in a more of a linear motion. They're a lot more scattered throughout nature here. If we can get the atmosphere and just entire area to support these strong thunderstorms with our ingredients, we could be talking about a lot more bigger threat. Now, we're really just going to have to monitor that potential over the next couple of days, like I said. Now, this is my last slide here. If you guys are within anywhere in this red region, please stay weather aware over the next couple of days, as there could be some strong, maybe just light severe weather at that point, but specifically in those areas that the SPC did highlight in a slight, that's where I'm going to want you guys to pay attention the most. Now, like I said earlier, anywhere within the severe weather region needs to stay weather aware over the next couple of days, as there could be some hazardous severe weather moving through your area. This is going to be on the more lower end threat of severe weather events. However, we can't take that too lightly. So we're just going to have to monitor model runs over the next couple of days. Thank you guys so much for watching this Weather Central forecast, and I'll see you guys in the next one.